Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the September Plan Commission meeting for the town of Fortville. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Sarah, will you please take us through roll call?
Sturdivant.
Here.
Layton.
Present.
Holland.
Here.
McCray.
Here.
Murphy. Bills.
Here.
Baker.
Here. All right, thank you very much, Sarah. All right, everybody would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Again, welcome everybody. Appreciate everybody coming out this evening. We have a packed agenda with 3 public hearings on the docket tonight. So we are looking forward to hearing these out in full and welcome any participation that may be planned. With that, we'll move right along in the agenda. Look to approve the meeting agenda. But before we do that, Adam, any modifications or is the agenda acceptable as presented?
Acceptable as presented.
Thank you very much. I'd look for a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
We have a second? Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, agenda approved. Thank you very much. Number 4 on our agenda this evening, commission to consider approving minutes of the August 2026-2025 meeting minutes. Are there any modifications, changes? I think we noted one at the beginning. It looks like I've got one that I think we need to note and modify. The motion to approve was actually the second motion. There was a first motion that failed to receive a second. I think that should probably be noted in the meeting minutes, and then we'll reapprove next time. Anything else? So then we'll kick that to the October meeting, correct, Adam? For approval?
Correct.
Correct. Thank you very much. All right. Moving right along, we are moving to the public hearing section of our meeting this evening. We've got 3 cases before us this evening. First, we've got case number STP 03-2025, McDonald's. The commission to consider a request to approve concept plans, site plan, landscaping, lighting, building elevations for proposed McDonald's at 215 South Madison Street along Broadway between Vernon Township Library and the CVS. They're also seeking approval of a replat. So just a quick overview, since we've got a full house tonight, kind of what we'll walk through this evening. Adam is going to give a presentation on each case. We'll start with this first case. Then we'll have time in our agenda for the petitioner to come up and speak on behalf of the case. We will then have time in our agenda for public comment. Anybody who would like to speak for or against the case can come to the microphone, can unmute on Zoom. We would love to have participation. If you've got thoughts about the case pertinent to our decisions here tonight, we'd love to have them. And then we'll have time for the petitioner to come back up, answer any questions, if they hear something that they can address, any questions for the commission. And then we'll vote on the case and we'll move along with each case in that particular order. So with that, Adam, if you would give us the presentation, we would appreciate it.
All right, thank you. For the record, I'm Adam Zaklikowski, the Planning Building Director for the town. As Nathan had mentioned, the commission is being asked to consider approving concept plans. So concept site plan, landscaping, lighting, building elevations for proposed McDonald's along Broadway between the Vernon Township Library and CVS, and then it includes a replat as well. So the property in question is about 1.6 acres in size, and it's currently owned by Debo Properties, LLC. And this property is zoned planned unit development, PUD. It's within the Madison Village PUD. And this use of a restaurant is allowed by right in this PUD. The project has been reviewed by the Technical Review Committee earlier this month. That's an internal committee made up of Planning Department, Engineering, Public Works, County Surveyor, utility companies, and the Fire Department. So here is the aerial photo, the parcel map. You can see where the property is located, basically right across the street here from Town Hall. And then we have a street view image of what you see from Broadway or US 36. Of course, we can always come back to any of these exhibits as necessary. If we take a look at the zoning map, you can see in orange, that is the area, the geography of the Madison Village PUD. Off to the east is property zoned commercial community. Same thing across the street. And then there is some residentially zoned land off to the west of Madison. So if we take a look at the concept site plan, you can see the access point would be here off of Broadway, and the front of the building would be facing south. Drive-through lanes would be towards the northeast and would wrap around the building. So in terms of the staff review analysis, these are some of the typical review items that we'll take a look at. And this is being reviewed against the zoning ordinance and against the Madison Village PUD. So in terms of access and circulation, they're showing a 28-foot wide entrance along Broadway. That would be subject to NDOT right-of-way and drainage permit. And they are showing full access at this time, and any restrictions on access, meaning if it would be right in, right out only, that's all entirely up to NDOT. They are planning on installing a 6-foot wide concrete sidewalk along the frontage, and that sidewalk system would be connected to the Madison Lofts apartments. The drive aisles exceed the 24-foot wide requirement. They would be also providing chairback curbs around the property. In terms of the setbacks, those are as established per that PUD. It requires 15 feet in the front, 15 feet in the rear, 15 feet in the side. So no issues there. In terms of parking, they've provided 44 regular spaces, 2 ADA spaces as required, to give them 46 spaces. So they exceed the requirement of 27 that would ordinarily be required. And all of the minimum space dimensions within the parking lot meet the ordinance. And then of note, they'll be providing 2 bicycle racks as required by the zoning ordinance. Just need to do one item of technology. Hold on one second. Next, you can see the concept landscape plan. There would be a multitude of trees that would be put out along Broadway in between the sidewalk and the pavement. They are showing a retention pond that would go out in front. And then there's a variety of shrubs and other trees that are throughout the site. And the PUD prescribed those calculations. There's a variety of different calculations based on the size of their parking area, based on the amount of foundation that they have, based on the frontage they have along Broadway, and all that has been met. And as you can see, it's a pretty well landscaped site. In terms of screening, the dumpster will be screened with a wall and an opaque gate. It will also be landscaped around it. And then moving on to the concept lighting plan, also known as the photometric plan. You can see all the different engineering points for the intensity of light that is measured around the site. The parking lot lights are shown on the plan, and they would not exceed 25 feet tall. They're showing 21-foot max shown, and all those lights will be fully shielded and pointed downward. Same thing for any of the building mounted lighting as well. The PUD requires no light spillover onto adjacent properties, and that has been reflected in those photometric calculations. And then just for your background knowledge, not for approval, but just for understanding, as I mentioned, for drainage, they're showing a detention pond, and the Hancock County Surveyor's Office has provided some technical comments. The McDonald's project engineer is working on addressing those comments. Next are the concept building elevations here. Again, we can always refer back to this. All four sides of the building. And those elevations do reflect upgraded elevations over a typical McDonald's template based on Fortville's architectural standards from the Broadway Main Overlay District, which is referred to in the PUD. And some of the items of that in particular is at least 50% of the facade shall be masonry. They're providing 60% brick. Architectural metal, which are these brown items that you see here. They are under the 33% maximum that's allowed. They've also provided quite a bit of vertical articulation, as well as horizontal articulation. They are providing a decorative cornice. They've got brackets, dentils, soffits, and moldings all required under our ordinance, and which the typical McDonald's prototype does not have any of those. And then the exterior walls do have some offsets, and then the windows do have grids up in front as required by that PUD. And then also as part of this, we're seeking approval of a minor replat. And this land in the PUD was platted as part of the Madison Village, the apartments project. And so the purpose of it is to split out this McDonald's parcel from the remainder of Block A in the Debo minor plat. And the Broadway right-of-way, there's 50-foot half street that's already there, and that's required as part of the thoroughfare plan. If more was required, they would have had to dedicate that as part of this, but it's already in place. So this basically splits out the parcel from the remainder of Block A. In terms of the community response, all public hearing requirements have been completed. Newspaper publication, public hearing sign, a mailing to nearby property owners, and at least as of this moment, there's no known remonstrance. So based on that, I would recommend that you hold the public hearing and approve the concept site plan, landscape plan, building elevations, lighting plan, and minor replat with no particular conditions associated with it. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address those. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate the presentation. Any questions for Adam at this time?
So I do. I've been contacted by a few residents, and some of this may be redundant for planning commission members, but for transparency, has the town reviewed, so this parcel is part of the Stellar Grant parcel, is that correct?
Sort of. I mean, and I had heard that question come up. The Stellar Grant, as it relates to this area, was simply the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority authorized tax credits for the apartment project that's to the north. As part of that, both in our application and in practice, there was no plan beyond that for this particular piece of property. It was solely focused on that building and the number of affordable units that would be coming in.
Okay, will any monies under the grant be applied towards this project?
No.
Okay, that takes care of a lot of questions. Let's see. Will this is part of a TIF district still, correct?
Yes.
Okay, as part of the
Believe so.
TIF district, one of the big things is maintaining access for pedestrians and residents, as well as walkability and mixed-use integration. So how does the proposed drive-through layout minimize visual impact and promote compact integrated parking as encouraged by the TIF standards? I think we can look at this question particularly and say that if you look at the landscaping plan, it looks like this is trying to integrate the visual impact and also minimize the visual impact of McDonald's, would you say? Other questions were, what measures will ensure sidewalks and walking paths remain safe and continuous maintaining access for residents to amenities like the library and downtown areas. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, but we've got sidewalks going all the way up in front of this restaurant, correct?
We do.
Will there be any extension over to the library at this time?
Not with this particular project. And the reason for that is because it is off-site. Certainly, if the desire was there to ask, see if they're willing to extend it further, that's definitely pertinent. But again, it is off-site by quite a bit in order to get it to the hard corner.
And then, let's see, I just want to say that I really love the landscaping buffer on this design. I think that looks great. Why, if, this might be a question to the petitioner, but if the required parking spots are 27 and only 2 ADA required parking spots, if they're having 46 parking spots, why don't we have more ADA parking spots? Was there a particular?
I would defer to the petitioner on that. What I can tell you is that the amount of ADA parking that's required is based on the overall count of parking spaces in a lot. And hold on one second. And from what I recall, it's usually every 25 parking spaces you have to provide one. And so in this case, assuming that is correct under federal law with 46 spaces, they'd have to have 2 minimum. They can certainly do more than that if they wanted to, or if the Plan Commission requested it. I'm sure they'd be amenable to that.
And then I'm looking at the top edge of these plans. I guess that would be the western side of the parcel. Are those access roads that connect to Madison Law?
Yes.
That's all the questions I have.
Any other questions for Adam at this time?
And I was just going to second what Brittany said about the ADA spots. I was kind of on the same, even if it's the required, I think it would be nice, especially since there's an entrance on the other side, maybe to have some more access on that side as well.
Is there a plan for, sorry, I'm just popped to my mind. Is there a plan for handling the semi trucks that'll be coming off for deliveries and things like that? Or are they going to be utilizing like local delivery trucks?
I would have to defer to McDonald's for that.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
this is Dan Olson with the Upstream. I'm project manager, site planner, and appreciate the time tonight. So just a quick answer on the truck circulation. That is typically it's a full semi truck that is accessing the site for our main deliveries. That happens usually a couple of times a week, and the site has been designed and truck circulation has been modeled so that semi can get on and off the site without an issue. So the circulation has been accounted for. The delivery doors on site are near the northeast corner. So north is up on this landscape plan. Northeast corner of the building, there's a sidewalk there where trucks would park, usually adjacent to the drive-through lane, and offload there. And they're usually on and off site in about 30 to 40 minutes. And that happens about 2 times a week.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Adam? Otherwise, we will move to the petitioner.
I do have a couple of questions
Okay.
for Adam. Signage out on Broadway. I don't see an elevation for what that signage looks like. Is this going to be a super tall McDonald sign like we see on the interstate, or is it something low to the
No,
ground?
it would have to be low. The signage will be covered under a separate permit. And they're still subject to the planning, the zoning rules, either in the PUD and or the zoning ordinance. So, but having skimmed through those, from what I recall, they have a small sign on Madison going out to this east-west driveway, Wisconsin Street. And it's probably only about maybe 8 feet tall, if that. And I would assume it'd be something very similar. So what I do know is what Fortville ordinance typically requires is that there has to be a masonry base on the sign. And then obviously the signboard can be above that, but we do not allow pole signs. So I would have, again, just skimming through that as part of the full plan set that I saw, I didn't see anything that immediately came up.
Okay. And then as far as the replat, from a planning perspective, if you pull up that slide again, the remainder of Block A, is that going to become an undesirable lot with that drainage easement splitting it in half? Or do you feel that that could still be buildable and attractive in the future?
So this east-west drainage and utility easement and access easement that you see here is that Wisconsin Street. And so that's actually, it's technically a private street that goes through the project. And so this northern part of Block A is that undeveloped pad that's there. So yes, there is ample room to be able to do something on that pad. And then for the remainder of Block A down here, this is the old Debo Deaton's building that still remains. I had asked McDonald's if they were willing to purchase that as part of this and possibly tear that building down. But the owner, Mr. Deaton, wanted to keep that building in place. So hopefully, I think it's still vacant at the moment, and hopefully a good use will come in there, commercial use.
I have one more question. Will there be lighting along the sidewalk in front, similar to how there's lighting in the downtown area?
No, not as presented. There would just be lights in the parking lot.
Okay.
I do have sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I do have a curiosity question here. When a chain restaurant such as McDonald's comes to town, do you have I guess a group of elevations that you can choose from? Do they present a group of elevations, or is that just a collective effort between you and the developer to meet the requirements here in town?
No, that's a great question. I would say that every chain that I've dealt with in my career is a little bit different as to how much they allow to veer from their template. Some are more particular than others. I would say in this case, McDonald's is probably in the middle, meaning there seems to be some basic corporate criteria that they want, but they're able to make some tweaks to the architecture based on local ordinance. So I was going to actually include the basic rendering that they originally came in with, so you could see that, and you can see how this was an upgraded version of it. But I didn't want to overcomplicate things. So this is the one that you're being asked to be approved. So it's similar. I would say it's similar to their prototype, but there's no doubt there's some detailing on the building that is seldom seen anywhere.
Any other questions?
I have a few questions.
Go for it.
So on the parking spaces back on, you said it was Wisconsin Street. With the two rear entrances there to the proposed site, how many there's parking there now currently, right?
There is parking on I guess it would be the south side of the Wisconsin Street alignment over here.
I don't recall the required number of spaces for the apartment complex, but will losing those parking spaces endanger, the number that's needed for that building?
No, I don't believe so. A good question, but I don't know the answer. I think it was, are you referring to this area over here? Because
Yeah,
this intersection is existing,
Okay.
so they're just amending the curb
Okay.
radius on it a
So I
bit.
guess it would be
But
just.
you're right, I believe this is new over here. So there's probably just a couple spaces that
Okay.
they would lose. I wouldn't think that it would materially affect their parking.
All right, and then I only have two other things. As far as the lights on Broadway, what is the town's plans to develop that, the new lamp posts? They're nice. They're the ones that just recently were installed. What's the plans to extend those at some point, because the developments have gone down past the point on the west end and, it's going out, especially with McDonald's and the developments out here on Ohio Street. Is the town planning to put those in? Are they asking as these owners develop these properties to contribute to those or how?
Yeah, it's a great question. And to be honest, I don't think there's a firm plan in place to expand those. Not to say that it couldn't be done, but I know the focus was to put in the brand new lights on Broadway, the existing area on Main Street. And on occasion, I know, for example, up on Madison, they did put in some new street lights that match that. So maybe Joe can lend some more
Yeah.
info on
I
that.
didn't mean to interrupt here. Joe Renner, Town Manager. First, I want to address Brittany's question as far as the sidewalk in front of the library. As you know, one of the projects on the agenda this evening is the South Madison Street project. With that project, the intersection improvement is going to happen. And we've got our engineers now working on the trail that comes all the way down to Windstone. It'll go down to Ohio Street and go all the way down to Windstone that direction. So it ties everything in. But there's a fourth component to that trails project, and that's an intersection improvement, safety improvement for pedestrians. It's going to have crosswalks, the push button lights and everything. And it also includes the sidewalk from Madison all the way down to this one here at McDonald's. So we'll tie it in.
That was my last question, Joe.
And then, as far as your question on the lights, along with that trail project, it will include lights just like what's on Broadway, all the way down to Winston.
What's the timeline on both of those?
It's MPO funding, so when the funding is available, Nathan can tell you, it could be 10 years down the road, but we're doing it in phases, so funding is available.
I would think that McDonald's would want that sidewalk to go to the corner because there's currently sidewalks there now,
Correct.
right? And to make it easier for customers to walk
It
there.
would, but I think the other thing we have to be cautious on is putting the sidewalks in there, not having the crosswalks and the lighting and all this stuff, the safety mechanisms in place beforehand. So that's all being engineered right now.
Okay.
So just so everyone's clear, including myself, so on the north side of Broadway, they're gonna, as part of the town project, they're gonna
But
connect the existing sidewalk with this one at McDonald's?
Correct.
Got it.
I had them include that
Oh,
into
great.
the scope.
And when they connect them, they'll also continue the lighting.
The lighting will be on the south side of the highway on the trail.
Okay.
The north side is just getting a sidewalk. What is it? 5-6 foot wide?
6.
And then on the south side, it's going to be a 10-foot wide.
That HMA
multi-asphalt.
trail.
Yeah.
And that'll be lit.
So we will note that the sidewalk does go through the property and connect to Wisconsin on the backside, which are sidewalks back there
Yeah.
that connect over to 13. So there is some connectivity.
Right.
But, okay. Thanks, Joe. Those are my questions.
I was just gonna say, I had one more question of what measures will ensure sidewalks and walking paths remain safe and continuous? Other than the fact that FPD is right across the street, but that takes care of it with their lighting on the opposite side.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that additional context. That was very helpful. Kind of tie it all together for us. Any last minute questions for Adam? If not, we will give the petitioner the floor. I know we've exhausted out this case, so, but if there's anything that you'd like to say on behalf of the case, if you could unmute and tell us how you represent the case, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I've appreciated working with Adam and the thoroughness, and we've been working with staff for quite a while to come up with the plan that you see in front of you, including all the pedestrian connectivity and thoughts to address a lot of the things that were discussed here tonight. So I appreciate the comments and the questions and Adam's thoroughness in his review. We're very excited to be here. We think it's a great site for us, and we appreciate your time tonight. The only comment I'll make outside, Adam did a great job covering all of it. The only comment I'll make is in response to the handicap parking comment. This site plan does meet code, but we would have no issue providing one on the west side, on the opposite side, as someone had suggested, to provide a space on that side of the building. And I've made note of that, and we will work on that. And then lastly, there was a question about parking being lost on the north side as part of our reworking of the driveways connecting with the apartment complex. There are 3 existing parallel stalls that are there today, and those are all remaining. So we're just kind of reconfiguring curbs and sidewalks. Those cross connections are already there. We're just reworking them a bit. So no parking lost on that. I just wanted to note that. And then, we do have folks available here if there's any other questions. And with that, I'll give the time back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. We very much appreciate it. Any questions for the petitioner? I actually do have one. I was holding for you. I assume that you have not filed a permit with with Indiana Department of Transportation yet, correct? For a permit for driveway review of the frontage.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, I think it's in process is where we're at right now. I know we haven't got any comments or hard feedback yet, but we have been working with them since the site plan was drawn up. I don't know what that was, 9-12 months ago, something like that. So we've been in touch with them out of the gate, and have been talking that through with them. I don't have any feedback in terms of full access being allowed or not. We did work with them to shift that driveway as far away from the intersection as we could in a location that made sense. But no permit comments as of this point, but we are in process.
Appreciate that. Generally, I do ask about traffic. That's my background, but I'm actually interested in the tree frontage. To Brittany's point, I really like the coverage. However, it appears, and maybe this one will slide by, but it appears that those trees between the sidewalk and the street are within the clear zone, which for everybody here, the clear zone is the space that you're not supposed to have any kind of crash worthy objects within a certain distance of the roadway, because if you hit it, it's going to be dangerous. And so just wanted, maybe it's a note for Adam, should NDOT come back and not allow trees in that I would hate to just lose that frontage, that maybe we look at reconfiguring to make sure we get that really nice tree line frontage, we get some good coverage there, because that seems like that might be a risk. And that depends on who's reviewing, but it does appear to be in that space. So just wanted to kind of note that as you guys are going through. Just want to make sure, I think it looks really nice as presented. So making sure that we preserve that regardless of NDOT's requirements. Any other questions for the petitioner? Okay, we have time in our agenda for public comment. If you have anything to say for or against this case, particularly as it pertains to what we are reviewing tonight, the concept plans, the site plan, the landscaping, the building elevations, the look, feel of the site, we would love to have them. If you would come to the microphone, say and spell your name and your address. And anybody, it looks like we don't have any additional folks online, but we'd love to entertain comment at this time.
Good evening. Brian Beaver, Bryan Beaver, 859 East Broadway Street, Fortville, Indiana. Mount Vernon graduate, class of 2001. I'll read a prepared statement. Thank you. I stand before you today not in opposition to growth, but in defense of what makes our town special. Fortville is a place defined by charm, by history, and a unique local businesses that give our community its character. Approving a McDonald's here risks replacing that character with a corporate model that looks the same in every town across America. It will increase traffic, add noise and light pollution to an area that thrives on peace and simplicity. and undercut the independent restaurants and shops that are the backbone of our local community and economy. I urge you to consider not just the short-term revenue a fast food chain might bring, but the long-term costs to our quality of life, our health, and the very identity of this town. Let us choose to invest in what is truly ours, not what has been stamped out in thousands of other places. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Beaver. Any other comments this evening? Absolutely. Come on down.
Hey, good evening. I'm Bob Sterrett, Sterrett, 840 Motel Drive. This McDonald's would actually be within walking distance of my house. I think it's a fantastic plan. I'm excited to see it. I'm very proud of all of the restaurants we have in Fortville, and this is just an add-on. It also gives an excellent place for employment for our younger people that are looking for a job. I'm guessing 15 to 20 jobs that are available for our high school kids or whatever. So I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea. I'm glad to see the plan as it is, as it looks good. It's sitting back off the road. I just wanted to say that I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Sterrett. Any other comments? We do still have time. I want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak that would like to. All right, hearing none. We do have time for the petitioner to come back up. Any last questions, clarifications for the petitioner by the commission?
I do have one just on that last comment about employment. I had thought about that earlier. Do we know how many jobs that you think would come with the traditional McDonald's?
I don't work for McDonald's, but I've gone to many of these hearings and I've heard numbers that are actually closer to 50 or 60 new employee opportunities when you open a restaurant like this. So don't quote me on a number, but it's more in that range than it is the 12 or 15. It's much higher than that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Any other comments for the petitioner? All right, we do have time in our agenda for government officials. Would any officials in the audience? Joe's already come up. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. Any others? Okay, I'm seeing a shaking of the head. All right. With that, I would look for a motion. This can be done in a bundle or it can be done individually if there are conditions. To approve with conditions, or deny concept plans, the site plan, landscaping, lighting, and building elevations for the proposed McDonald's at 215 South Madison Street. And then I assume we need to do the replat separately, or can that also be bundled in a motion?
Either works.
Okay, so we could bundle it all up, or we could break these out individually. So I'd look for a motion to approve with conditions, or deny.
Just real quick, Nathan, he said we would do the extra ADA spot. Do we need to have that as a condition, or they'll just add that in the next one?
It never hurts to add it as a condition. I know they're amenable, but that way we make sure that it goes all the way through.
Yeah, I would seek a motion for STP 032025 with the addition of the additional ADA spot to be approved.
All right, got a motion. Do I have a second?
We have discussion.
Yes.
Would we want to stipulate something that if the clearway has to be removed of trees in the clearway, then we'll revisit it?
Would that stipulate a substantial change, or is that going to be a minor change handled by staff typically?
I would say that'd be a minor change that would be handled by staff if the state doesn't allow it. The next option would be to put it towards the back of the sidewalk, between the pond and the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that they do allow it, but.
Got it.
So I suppose you could require it as a condition if we wanted to see it.
If it's considered minor, then I think we just leave it to the town's jurisdiction.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got a motion with condition. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right, motion carries. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time this evening, Mr. Olson. Thank you for everybody who came out and spoke on behalf of this case. We appreciate your participation.
Thank you.
That was the minor replat was bundled in there, correct? You did everything.
Yes.
Okay. Just for the record, I'll make sure that's noted. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. No, keeping me honest. I appreciate it. All right, moving on to our second public hearing this evening, case number TA 01-2025, the Mersho Louth PUD text amendment number 1. Commission to consider a request to grant a favorable recommendation to Town Council of Ordinance 2025-9A, an amendment to the Mersho Louth PUD affecting Area A, multifamily area, west side of the 38-acre Fortville 19 LLC property on the north side of Garden Street, south of Broadway, also seeking approval of a primary plat. Adam, if you would give us the presentation, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. So for this next case tonight, the applicant on the project is SC Bodner Company. The current owner of the land is Fortville 19 LLC, and that's the Mersho family. And the location of this project is north of Garden Street, or 1000 North, and it's east of the south side of downtown Fortville. The zoning on this project, it's been planned unit development PUD since May of last year. And that PUD currently allows for multifamily market rate apartments plus light industrial buildings. And the size of the land overall is about 38 acres. So the request by the developer before you tonight is that some background is that Loth Development was originally planning on developing this property, but as many of you know, that project fell through. So now SC Bodner Company is looking to purchase the property, and they would develop the west half of the property, the multifamily side, and then they would sell the east half. And so the developer is proposing to modify the zoning standards pertaining to the west half only, and the east half would remain in place. The proposed changes, while arguably improving the plan, are substantial enough in nature that necessitates that the concept plans and some ordinance language be adjusted. So if you take a look at the map from Beacon, the aerial parcel map, you can see the 38-acre field in question. Again, that's just south of Town Hall here. And you can see that it is zoned planned unit development in orange, and off to the east is R1.0 zone land in unincorporated Hancock County. And then over to the west is residential 3.5 for the most part on the south side of Fortville. And if you take a look at the PUD concept site plan, this is the existing plan. You can see we're talking about this area in this bluish green color, in which they were originally showing a multitude of multi-story apartments. And then on the east half, which is unaffected, these are the light industrial buildings. And this was the existing plan. And so now the concept that you see here, again, the east half stays the same. West half is where the change would occur. And so on this colorized plan, you can see that there are two main changes to this. Number one is there would only be 2 3-story residential buildings now, and those would be pushed right up to the closer to the right-of-way frontage along the new South Madison Boulevard. And then they've introduced these 1-story residential buildings in which there's groupings of units. And I believe each of the units have garages that are there. So they've also adjusted the location of the detention ponds as well. These were the concept elevations in the existing plan. These are some similar buildings that were in Carmel and Fishers, Noblesville. And then here are the PUD concept elevations that they're proposing. And this, of course, is for the multi-story building that you see, the 3-story building. And then here is what the 1-story product looks like. So the garages are all in the back off of private alleys. So to go through some of the changes quickly is the name of the PUD. They're looking to change from Mershot Loft PUD to Mershot SC Bodner. In terms of the number of units, both the current PUD and the proposed amendment still have up to 225, although in the Loft proposal, they had 205 units. In this proposal, they adjust that up to 206. In terms of parking, that would stay the same in terms of 1.5 maximum per dwelling unit. Or minimum, I'm sorry, the way it reads now is 1.5 minimum per dwelling unit, and the parking requirement may be satisfied through a mix of garage parking and surface parking. And then for the design aspects, in both cases, it's still the height shall not exceed 3 stories or 40 feet. Same thing, that masonry shall be applied to 20% of the facade. Buildings are subject to 4-sided architectural review. That stays in there. They've added a clause that says single-story and multi-story buildings are permitted. In terms of the remonstrance and some of the comments, all of the public hearing notification requirements have been met: mailing, sign, newspaper. We did receive one letter of remonstrance from Mr. and Mrs. Turner at 615 Poplar Street. They would like to see a 10 to 12 foot high mound along the ponds near the road and the property lines. The town council members seem supportive of the changes as part of this amendment that was provided to them for first reading. They did seem to prefer this design over the existing one. There was a question about whether or not dumpsters, the number of dumpsters that they're showing would be sufficient. And the developer explained that trash will be enclosed in a compactor. So based on that, I would offer that you provide a positive recommendation to the Fortville Town Council. And the next steps on this project, these are tentative, subject to change in terms of dates and time, but the Fortville Town Council would look at this for final review and potential approval if there's a motion here tonight for second reading of the ordinance, which would be the final reading. And that would be Monday, October 6th at 6:30 p.m. And then the site plan would still need to be approved by the Plan Commission after the zoning process. That would really get into detail on lighting and architecture, things of that nature. And it would have to be consistent with what you're seeing here today. The other thing that they filed as part of this, and this, if you're inclined, you would be able to approve this outright. This does not go to council, this portion of it. It's the primary plat, and it's called the Madison Edition Primary Plat. And the purpose of it is to subdivide the land into blocks and to show where public right-of-way will be located. So the land would be separated into 4 blocks plus a common area. And they're showing South Madison Boulevard at 120 feet right-of-way, which is consistent with our plans. They're also showing local streets to be 50 feet right-of-way. And then I believe they might be showing a little bit of additional right-of-way on 1000 North to make that, I believe, 80-foot total right-of-way, so 40-foot half. And if you take a look at the primary plat, you can see how the land would be divided up. Obviously, South Madison Boulevard would connect up to the Madison and Broadway intersection. Park Street would be extended, and they would actually bring Park Street all the way up to the east property line of the entire 38 acres. Then there's a new street called Wilkinson Street that would be on the northeast side of the project. And then the idea is to connect that up to the road in the business park here, just to provide another access point for folks to get in and out of the business park. And then High Street would also be extended. This would probably be a right in, right out intersection because of its close proximity to Broadway and Madison. And this particular exhibit shows the same thing. It does show some sewer and water planning, and that's still under the development timeline in order to figure out exactly the sizing on that, where they will connect to. But that's the general plan right now, is obviously extending utilities throughout the property. There'll also be a landscaped median down South Madison Boulevard. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them. The developer is here as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate the presentation. Any questions for Adam at this time?
Can you confirm the parking location? I know we've seen multiple renditions of this. The parking will go behind the buildings in between, correct?
Correct.
Not at bordering. Okay.
Correct.
And then just to refresh our memories, Mercho Loth, when they develop this, they will be, Mercho will be responsible for the construction of these new roadways?
Yes, they will. However, there is some town participation in it potentially as part of a TIF bond. That is pretty common and customary with a project of this size within a TIF area. And as you can see, there is quite a bit of public infrastructure on the property that they probably wouldn't otherwise have. Now, for that, it does not go to the Plan Commission. It would go to council approves elements of it, as does the Redevelopment Commission, and potentially even some of our less frequently used commissions like Economic Development Commission. So it is a somewhat complicated process. So there would be some town participation in the funding of that.
And then where are the AC units going to be located?
I believe on the ground mounted.
Okay, will they be properly screened? Or are they just
Yes,
out there?
they would be screened. That would be required.
Any other questions for Adam?
I've got a question. What's the proposal for the perimeter on?
To clarify, they would be screened for the apartment buildings. I'm not 100% certain on how we would treat the single-story buildings. Presumably they would be screened, but those might be treated more akin to single-family houses where they're not. So it's an unanswered question.
The proposal for the perimeter of the retention ponds? Are they just going to be, what's that going to look like? I don't know that I saw that, or is that going to come later?
Well, that would come later in terms of a more detailed concept landscape plan that you would have the ability to approve. Okay. But to be clear, in terms of what the neighbor is requesting, there's no requirement as it stands here today to put that in. So if you felt that is necessary, you would want to include that as part of your motion.
The remonstrance I know called for some really tall mounds. I don't, that's open for discussion, but I didn't know if it was just currently planned for just plain chain link, or because those can become pretty unsightly, or what the current plan was. I didn't know if that was open for discussion or something that needed to be discussed before we voted tonight.
I would presume that there would not be any sort of fencing around it. It's generally unusual to do that now. Sometimes, depending on the depth of it, if the pond is really deep, they may want to do that. But I would say that's an unanswered question at this point. It can be addressed down the road, one way or the other.
Is there someone here from that would know that?
Yes.
Answer? Okay. And then, are there any plans for upgrades to Garden Street? Are we expecting increased traffic since 13 is going to be, I know it's not technically 13, but it's going to be extended down to Garden Street? I see that becoming a pretty common cut through. Is Garden Street currently capable of the width and the?
That is a good question. In terms of any widening on Garden, I think the only thing that might be widened in association with this project might be like a passing blister near the intersection. But beyond that, I'm not aware of any plans to, at this time, to either widen or redo pavement or anything like that.
I didn't know if the RDC or anybody had that discussion yet, because again, I expect that
Yeah.
would be an increased, they're going to see increased traffic there for sure.
Sure. Yeah, it's a good point.
That's all I had.
As a point of clarification there, when site plan comes before us, we could require that a traffic study is complete,
Yes.
or stipulate, I mean, I would prefer that a study stipulate what's needed there and or at the other intersections, but we could also stipulate. And we would not have, we always get into this with the PUD, that would still be available to us if it's not included tonight.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Just
could,
wanted to
you
know.
could require it down the road. You could require it now as part of this. I've seen it done either way. Sometimes it's done at the PUD level for larger projects. Sometimes it's done when you're looking at those detailed plans. But I think there would be proper assurances that would be done. You could do it either way.
Any other questions for Adam?
I have a comment, not a question. So I personally am typically not a huge fan of the one-story multifamily buildings, but I do think with much thought in this scenario, I think that's going to allow for a nice transition between the three-story buildings and the existing residential homes that are currently in Old Fortville there, as opposed to the old plans from Loft, where those three-story buildings were going to back right up basically in the backyards of those homes. So I truly think this is a better plan.
Yep.
Appreciate that, Chris. Any other questions, comments for Adam before we have time for the petitioner this evening?
Just my only comment was, it looks like, I do agree with the one story, but then just as far as for the residents that would be there, it looks like they're giving up dog park, pool, playground, and substituted for maybe some pickleball courts. But I don't think that's a deal breaker, but maybe they could think about that as they kind of move forward, that may have been a lot of amenities that are taken away from future residents.
Careful what you say about pickleball. All right. Any other questions, comments this evening? Okay, we have time in our agenda for the petitioner to come up and speak on behalf of the case. If you could say and spell your name and how you represent the case, we'd appreciate it.
Rents as well.
No, that's okay.
Michael Garvey, I'm with the petitioner. We're 100-year-plus old company based in Indianapolis boroughs. I'm going to go through the site plan first. Is that okay? Point out. So, this was explain this. It was always the thought, talking with staff and council, to create some height here. And density has always been important as well in terms of the number of units, because this is in a TIP district. So we're dealing with the city on the finance side to try to get enough units on the site to help with the overall TIP. So this is a key element. We have in those two buildings, 205 units overall, 154 in those. And then when we talk to staff, Adam mentioned garages. What we're trying to do is put those in interior from sightline standpoint. So the neighborhoods to the west will not see garages, but they'll see the single pickle. The other reason there are really three good reasons why we transferred into a product of single story. One is, somebody mentioned, I think you did, that it's a good transition, we believe, from a lane planning standpoint. But there are two other interesting things. One is, we really think the market wants this product. in Fortville. And the third is interesting. Markets have proven this product type is less transient. So an average turnover in a more typical suburban property would be about 45% of the units a year. So you retain 55%. Typically, the one story is above 65 to 70. So we think that's appealing. It's certainly appealing as an owner because you're turning units less frequently, but it should be appealing to the community as well, because it again will create less transient behavior into this project. We did talk about somebody brought up the amenities. There will be a dog park, will be pickle, and will be a pool. So the other unique feature for a single-story product in Hancock County is the other projects in Hancock County that are single-story have no amenities. The financial side of this, I don't know how much anybody wants to go into that, but working closely with Cronin Associates on the TIF and have been since the inception. So knowing that this public infrastructure costs a lot of money, the preliminary estimates from Cronin Associates are that over a 25-year period, this project will produce over $11 million back, direct contribution through taxes to the TIF. I'll get into architectural a little bit here. First, a multi-story building. Some elements I think are worthy of mentioning are in discussions with the staff, we increased the gable here to create a breakup of the roof line for the building, so that really, when you look at this shot, it's really a drone shot, so it's not that appropriate. We didn't get this color, but this is what you would see more appropriately from the ground level. So this sight line, you'll be looking up at it, and we spent a lot of time with our architect looking at the architectural elements and the buildings bump out certain areas, etc. The other thing that we did, HVAC condenser units. Adam wasn't prepared because I didn't tell him. We changed all that, and it's on the roof and hidden by a barrel. So they will be invisible to everybody from a drive-by standpoint. We've yet to figure out exactly, we think the condensing units will have to be in a bank, but we'll screen those on the single story. But nobody will see the condensing units whatsoever. We changed that to a fair bit long on the other side. There's actually a flat roof, reinforced, and we do banks at each section. One other thing we did that I don't want to say it's not common, but is purposeful on our part and is more expensive, is we converted. Originally, we're going to do exterior corridors and entranceways. We've enclosed those. So I think it gives it more of a Class A true element that's not required by zoning. It's not, we haven't found it anywhere, Adam, that would be a requirement down, but we've incorporated that. What else? And the other key, just to understand on the density side, what we did these buildings are the single story probably gets 70% less units per acre. So again, back to creating density up on the boulevard and then transitioning back into a single story product. In conclusion, as Adam mentioned, this is a pre-approved PUD already recorded. The only change we're making here is transitioning to a single story product, which again, council seemed to like, had presented it to council twice. We have a right to go 220 units with a single story product. We maxed out, actually it's 205, not 206. We're meeting all the other requirements from setbacks that were within the PUD and the ordinance. And all the material components such as masonry being 20%. We're actually slightly over that number. I don't know the exact percentage, but all the materials are in line with what was detailed in the ordinance in the PUD. Thank you for your time. I'll stand up here if you want me to.
That'd be
Is there
great.
any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Any questions for the petitioner at this time? No, I've got a couple.
I have a comment,
Sure.
not a question. I just want to say that I really appreciate the revamp. All of this, I think it looks fantastic, and that the proposed changes from the original design are definitely improvements, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Quick question on the single family units. What do the specs look like from a square footage bedroom perspective compared to the?
They're all twos and all garaged.
Okay.
So there are bump outs on the end units, which will create another, so the actual square footage, I think, ranges from just under 1,200 to just under 1,400.
Okay.
Square feet, depending upon the units.
And they're 2 and 2s?
Yes.
2 and 2s. Okay. Okay.
And exits on both sides of the house. So they're passed through, if you will. So
Okay.
people will be able to enjoy on the outside of their house, a little patio, and they'll actually overlook. On a lot of the units, they'll overlook the ponds. As you see here.
Which I guess is a good point, a good place to ask Mike how,
Yeah.
what are the perimeters of those ponds going to look like? Surely you guys.
Was said the question or the request, we can't really physically do a berm that high. And it's an interesting reason is we don't have the land, because to go 10 feet would take 40 width of land. So we just don't have that. We will do some sort of berm and have yet to obviously present a full landscaping plan. I'm not opposed to talking about a fence here and here. I don't know that it's necessary on this piece. So we would entertain doing a fence or minor berm and a fence, but just the physical nature of doing a high berm picks up so much depth in the land.
Any other questions for the petitioner at this time?
Just a couple comments. So on that does come up. That's very big in the community, is kind of how are we sectioning off? So
Yeah.
please put a lot of thought into that. I know that I understand the 12 foot, like you said, you need 50 feet to do that. But if it's just better landscaping, then maybe you would plan
Yeah.
or that is required. I know meeting the requirements and maybe say, this is what was required and here's what we've done. I think that will go a long way with the community. Then thank you for the amenities, because that was something we've seen a couple different
Yes.
complexes come in and that don't have any. So thank you for
Right.
answering that. And then this is just a comment on kind of as you go into that multi-story, maybe some controlled access just for the residents there to feel extra safe. And maybe that's just standard for you, but
Oh, it is
something to get
standard.
in.
Yeah, it'll be all technical, it'll all be in your phone.
Awesome.
So these are further away than their neighbors are today, and it is single story. So we're not screening from what was committed in the PUD, a 3-story building being right back here. So again, we're not opposed to it. It's an open discussion, but we don't think this is nearly as potentially offensive as a 3-story building. And these will be very similar heights to the other single family in terms of a single family product.
Thanks, Michael, for the presentation. One more thing to think about and consider as you guys kind of fine tune and iron out some of these details. But the rear patios, and I think this just came to me. One of the reasons why I think I'm not been a huge fan of single story or the rear porches in the back. And you see so many around Metro Indianapolis where it's just a little section of white vinyl fence and it's a bunch of white vinyl fences. I don't know if there's a more creative way. I don't know if you guys have put much thought into that. I know tenants want some separation.
Yeah.
But I think that, in my opinion, it just kind of cheapens the look of a lot of these buildings.
You know, it's a really good comment. We've talked about it. We can't, you know, these are what they are in terms of design, right? So in the fact that they abut one another, we're going to share space. So we're going to do some sort of dividing wall to give the respective residents some level of privacy. But whether that's wood, vinyl, to your point, I think that's an open discussion with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But will that be on the back with the garages?
So perpendicular to the houses, just dividing their rear space, not bordering off a sight line.
Right, because that'll be like, so the alleyway would have the back. So like,
Yeah, so, yeah. Porch that abuts another unit, we would put a perpendicular, think of a 5-foot cedar wall.
Excellent. Any other questions, comments? Really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. All right, we now have time in our agenda for public comment for or against this proposal, this case tonight. If you have anything to say for the case, I'd invite you up to the microphone. If you would say and spell your name and provide your address, we would appreciate it.
Andrea Heath, ANDREAHEATH. And I live at 1839 West 1000 North. Would be this. Diagonal. I'm not the type, or I'm the type that would break out in hives when giving a class presentation, so please just bear with me. I'd like to discuss traffic, road placement, and setbacks. My first question is, what happened to the Garden Street traffic study discussed by the Town Council and the Plan Commission in 2024? On May 6, 2024, per the Town Council's minutes, the Loft representative agreed to do a traffic study. Did any studies ever come to fruition before they dropped the project? Second, who is determining the South Madison Road placement? And then lastly, regarding setbacks, the town's own standards for residential multifamily require between a 40 and 50-foot setback. The decreased 20-foot setbacks approved for the original Louth PUD was based on a completely different layout than what we've been presented with today. I implore you all not to approve a 3-story building 20 feet from 1000 North with existing residential homes directly across the street. To go from the already approved buffer of a retention pond in that area to now a massive building will not only affect our privacy, but massively increase noise pollution and will also decrease our property values. Not only this, but it neglects to address the future needs of Garden/1000 North. The road is already too narrow for the amount of traffic it receives. And once the South Madison Boulevard project connects to 200, the need for turn lanes at the future intersection of South Madison and 1000 North will likely exist. So to allow a 3-story building 20 feet from this tentative intersection diminishes the future ability to add any additional lanes. So please, I beg of you to request changes to at least the southeastern portion of this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments this evening. Any others who would like to speak for the case? Yes.
My name's Melinda Turner and I'm at 615 Poplar. So the mounds, I was mostly concerned about the mounds being right here. And so I just want to make sure that we've got proper water control. You know, I don't want any flooding or anything like that. I'm just that and aesthetics. And then another thing is all rentals that they rent control. Okay. All right. And another thing is just is there going to be any Section 8 or nothing like that? That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Quick clarification. So the mounding was the concern. I want to make sure I get the question right. So when we bring them back up, is that really for drainage purposes or is it for visual sight? Or both? Both. Okay. Drainage as well. Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other comments this evening? Anyone else from the public that would like to speak regarding this case? Please come on up.
My name's Michael Kraus. I'm the owner of Fortville Feeders next door. And I have no problems with this whatsoever. It's gorgeous, perfect. My problem is they have a connecting street coming into our street next door, which is a public street that we block and back semis up on every day. It don't look like a problem, but it is truly a problem. And the reason it's truly been manageable for the last 25 years or 23 years is because there's no streets and outsiders coming into that little industrial park. The only reason you'd have a reason to go into the park is because you're doing business there. There's no side streets coming in it. Nobody uses it as a cut through. And I block the street between me and the police department a good 80%. And I can block it for an hour at a time. If I get an 80-foot semi in, sometimes it can take me over an hour to unload it and reload it. That also doesn't put up with the truck drivers that don't know how to back up a truck without running over the police department. It's more headaches than you know. We've lived there for a long time with no problems, and I wish them all the best. And you can come see me if you got another answer for it. But other than two other businesses over there, all of us break the law every day. My trucks coming in, they have to come from the north. And then going south, they're in the right-hand lane. To back into my dock, they have to get into the left-hand lane to back in. That's illegal. We break the law every day. And every other truck that backs in from the street. You can't do that in a true new industrial park today. You have to have your semis on your own land. Well, this is an old industrial park, and it just don't work that way here. We've been fine forever. We're fine now. But I don't need, honestly, somebody trying to get to work on time and I got the street blocked. They're not going to be happy. Truly not. And it's illegal to block the street and it's illegal to back trucks in from the street. It truly is. If you want to look at today's laws, and you own my dock, whether you think so or not, you own it. You have the power to condemn my dock and my building and tell me I can't use it no more. Look it up. You'll find you own it. I gave it to you. Lock, stock, and barrel, I donated it to you. I didn't sell it to you. I gave it to the town of Fortville because they couldn't get their fire truck out of this building and without backing it in. That's okay. I needed it. So I know the problem I have facing me. I just don't need more problems for you to think about. So, got another solution. I'll be willing to listen. I don't know what it is. Just my only solution is leave us alone. Thank you. You guys.
Thank you so much. Sure. You can pose it to the group.
Sure. So is it Industrial Drive
Yes,
that we're discussing here?
the tie-in.
And right now it is only this way out. It does not exist over here. Okay, so this is not there right now.
Correct.
So would it be possible to put like a gated entrance or something right here to prevent traffic from coming down this way?
So I
Would
think,
that interfere with?
I think that maybe that's a question for Adam and the town is that's part of the parcel that's not being developed yet, is what I understand. That's area B of the proposed concept plan, which is under the rezone. Is that something to be considered when those parcels are approached to be developed? Because to me, that's on the other side of, it's a valid comment. And I wonder if it's just something that the town can, as we continue to develop, is that, when is the appropriate time to attack that?
Well, I think, let me open up something here.
You're actually, they're planning to pave a street to it, to Industrial Drive. So they are affecting it. And they're saying we're going to start affecting it. When they do the industrial side, it's going to make it 10 times worse. Now I'm going to have to deal with semis coming down that street the wrong way.
So Wilkinson is part of the overall development, just not that parcel.
Like to me.
Right.
I guess that's the question I want to clarify is. Or if that's part of just the original PUD that was contemplated, that would be a question.
Yeah, let me, sorry, I'm playing with some of these windows here. Let's see if this works.
Oh.
I'm sure it's gonna be, but then I don't think we want to toss something and do. Not gonna be developed for it. You close out. Make it come down. Okay, so the as you can see in the existing plan, there's no change to having Wilkinson Street there. That was approved with that connection as part of the existing plan. And let's see here. There we go. Okay, so this Wilkinson Street was a part of the original plan. And so they're keeping that.
Wasn't the original plan though predicated on area B being, that was like the anchor site, right? That was going to develop. And so that may have been a request from that anchor.
Right, so this is what was originally shown. And originally they were going to bring that road all the way along the north property line. And then as part of the plat, they've changed the geometry just a little bit, but it would no longer go all the way to the east property line of the project, but it would still connect to Industrial Drive. So the idea there is that it would be a public street, and that Industrial Drive near Town Hall would be repaved. It's gravel for the most part back here. So the logic of it is to provide another access point into the business park, to allow for additional emergency access if needed, to allow for employees in the business park, another access point out. Our feeling is that the more access points that we have to different areas, the better for public safety and for ease of travel.
Okay. So that was contemplated by the town. That's part of the town's plan for access through the PUD.
Right. Now, as part of this amendment, essentially the entire PUD is being opened up. So it's within your role as a body to, if there are changes to the existing PUD that you think are warranted by this, that can be contemplated, and then it's ultimately up to town council as to what they want to approve or not. But within your role as a recommending body, you can recommend whatever you see fit.
So
I would recommend keeping that access point.
Okay. Okay, any other, I guess we're still technically, I apologize for the sidebar, but wanted to get that answered. Any other public comment at this point on this project? Or could you come up to the microphone just so we can record it? All right, so the question was when would the project be started? And I think we can have the developer answer that. I've got a couple other questions.
Yes, so we're working in concert with the town on the overall public. What's really happening here is there's a 38-acre plus or minus tract. And we have both sides of the whole tract under contract. And to enable the public infrastructure to be built, we're actually donating that land free of charge back to the town. So the town and the TIF will be paying for the infrastructure cost, but the land we agreed to contribute free. And it's 5-ish acres that we're losing in totality. So the question of when it starts, if our approvals go through as expected and the TIF approvals go through, which we obviously don't directly control, there could be some horizontal improvements yet in 2025. We would go vertical in the spring on this project of 26.
Okay. And I got a few other questions for you just that came up from the public.
Sure.
So, and maybe Adam, this is for you. The traffic study from the Marshall lot, I'm guessing since that fell through, that just never started. Would that be fair?
No, actually, I'm glad she brought that up because I think that is in the existing ordinance. It's in the first couple pages of the existing ordinance. So
just a requirement to do one.
Yes,
correct?
I think that is in there. I'm glad she reminded.
But
us about that.
Nothing was done to date because the project fell through. They didn't initiate the study.
That's correct.
Okay. So do we know for sure, because that is something that having been brought up a couple of times was something you might want to make a condition tonight, but if it's already in there, we don't need to duplicate efforts, but I want to verify.
Yeah, we can answer that question here.
Okay. While he's doing that. Let me see, a couple other questions. Setback, maybe this is for Adam as well. I apologize. This is a duplicate effort. Maybe the right of way on 1000 North, what is the I assume there's a right of way donation dedication off of that's fairly traditional in development, right? So what's because the concern was the setback from the building face to 1000 North. Should there be, let's say, widening, we needed to throw a turn lane in there. That we're purchasing maybe off of the northern property and not infringing on the southern property.
Yeah, from what I recall, the thoroughfare plan shows 80 feet total right of way for Garden Street there.
Okay.
So that means they'd have to dedicate a 40-foot half street. So 40 feet to the center line of the road. And that's reflected on this primary plat. So yeah, if we take a look at, it's in there. Traffic study required per council condition of approval 5624. So it was in the text of the existing ordinance. So that's still a requirement.
Okay. Thank you. So we've got the 40-foot half in there. I suspect that the 20-foot offset is just to the property line. That is not to the traveled way. So there'll be a 40-foot half plus the 20-foot offset.
Correct.
So there's really 60 feet from the center of Garden 1000.
Correct.
Okay. So I wanted just to clarify, so there'll be 60 feet. So the goal would be any improvements are not being improved on the southern side of the road. It's on the northern side of the road away from that property. Typically how this is handled. Okay, let me see. Maybe you can just speak to drainage quickly. There was concern about the ponding. Obviously the drain or the ponds are there not to overflow, but to manage drainage for the rest of the site. So there's no concerns that you can speak to.
No.
That we're not going to flood with these
Not at all.
ponds.
Yeah, our civils here, we don't have full drawings prepared yet. They've done some initial calculations on the pond sizing, and we think we're in good shape, but.
Yeah,
Sure.
Dylan Reynolds,
Just to-
Space Go, the civil engineer. Yeah, we have the 2 ponds on this site that are planned to handle the drainage for the multifamily portion and all the roadway infrastructure as well. And then anything that would develop on the east side of the road would need its own additional stormwater detention ponds, and then it would flow through us and then to the ultimate outlet point. So,
And these are both wet
yes.
detention. Okay.
Yep.
And I know you haven't fully engineered. Do we have estimated depths on these? I mean,
Roughly from like top of bank to water level, 4 or 5 feet, from water level to the bottom, 6 to 8.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Any other questions for the petitioner? Concerns, questions? Okay. Then I would look for, I apologize, I do have time in the agenda for government officials. Anybody like to come up and speak on behalf of the government? Okay. No, Joe, you sure? Good. All right. Then I would look for a motion to approve with conditions, or deny, or excuse me. I'd look for a favorable or a negative recommendation to the town council on the amendment to the Mershel Louth PUD affecting area A. And then approval, I suppose the approval would be a motion to approve or approve with conditions, the primary plat as well.
Correct.
Maybe we separate those out. We do a recommendation and then a motion to approve or deny the primary plat. So first I'll look for a recommendation on the PUD amendment.
Make a recommendation to approve case number TA 012025, Merchant Louth PUD text amendment number 1 as proposed.
Do you have a second?
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, favorable recommendation. Thank you very much for your time this evening. We appreciate it. I suppose we do still have the primary plat. I would look for a motion to approve with conditions, or deny the primary plat.
Make a
For,
motion to approve the primary plat as presented.
all right, thank you. Second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, primary plat is approved. Thank you very much. We appreciate everybody's time this evening. Appreciate the comments. Very, very helpful for us. With that, we will move on to our final public hearing of this evening, case number Architecture 01-2025, 115 North Main Street. Commission to consider a request for architectural and site plan approval to allow for substantial modifications, expansion to 115 North Main Street, the former Carnegie Library. Adam, if you'll take us through our last presentation of the evening. Appreciate it.
All right, for the final case before you tonight, this involves a proposal for the Carnegie Library expansion. So it's at 115 North Main Street. The petitioners are Julie Bandy and Vasily Makris. They're the property owners. And the zoning on the property is commercial neighborhood, CN, and it's within the Broadway main overlay. The current use of the property is vacant. It was property previously contained an art museum, a daycare center at one time, and of course the Fortville Library until I believe 1986. It is a Carnegie Library and it's listed on the National Register of Historic Places. So the request before you tonight is that the property owners would like to build an expansion onto that Carnegie Library and convert the facility into the Carnegie Events Center. And so the building is currently about 3,400 square feet. And the expansion would be about 7,500 square feet for a total of a little under 11,000 square feet. And Plan Commission review and approval of the architectural and site plan portion of the remodel is required per the zoning ordinance. Again, it says specifically that the decisions are to approve with conditions, or deny substantial exterior improvements in the Broadway Main Overlay District for commercial projects. And then it goes on to state that for building expansion on a site with non-conforming site features, every reasonable attempt shall be made to upgrade the site and building accordingly to the provisions of this ordinance. So if we take a look at the building, you can see the historic Carnegie Library. And then this is the side of it. And then this is the rear along the alley. And what they are looking to accomplish, you can see the expanded building behind it. So this area in red would be the expansion area. And then if you take a look at the rendering that they've provided, you can see the general intent of the expansion. And this is looking from Church Street. And then this is looking from Main Street. And I think we're gonna try opening this. Hopefully this will open. Yes, I think it does here. So in terms of this case, there's two items of note. First one is parking. So on-site parking is not required per the ordinance because this is in the downtown area. However, there could be anywhere from 100 to 200 people at a given event. They have an agreement in concept with Gateway Church to allow for valet parking on the church parking lot. And that could accommodate as many as 60 vehicles per the petitioner. However, a formal agreement has not yet been signed. And then in terms of the architecture, the addition that they're proposing is a steel building, and they would like to use brick and stone veneer on the new addition. A decorative railing and new doors are intended for the Carnegie Library. In terms of any remonstrance on this, again, all the public hearing notice requirements have been met: sign posting, newspaper publication, mailing. We did receive a letter of remonstrance from Mark DeLass. He's the Vice President of Preservation Services and Director of the Central Regional Office of Indiana Landmarks. In his comments in the letter that was provided to you, stated that he felt that the addition is oversized, that the materials are not in keeping with the Carnegie Library, that the baluster railings, which would be added onto the existing library and the front door, are not appropriate to the craftsman style, that he believes that the proposal should be rejected in its current form. And he does applaud the applicant's desire for adaptive reuse of the building, and he's happy to assist the applicant. Based on that, what I would recommend is that you discuss the case, you hear we hear your comments, the public comments, and table the item until a new design is submitted. You may wish to require that any addition to the Carnegie Library gain approval from Indiana Landmarks. I would say that obviously the Carnegie Library is really an asset that the town has in terms of a historic building. So I do believe that we have to be even more careful than maybe as normal because of the historic nature and uniqueness of that building. So we want to make sure that any sort of addition is done correctly. What I would add is there are a few different additions of historic buildings that we want to walk you through. This one happens to be at a church in downtown Indy. This is the parish hall that was added on to St. John the Evangelist Church. You can see that it takes elements from that historic church, but there are modern features such as quite a bit of glass to that particular addition. And then a couple of the Carnegie libraries that have been added onto in Indiana. If you take a look at the Attica Public Library, you can see on the right side, this is the newer addition that was put on to the existing building. And then if we take a look at the Delphi Public Library, you can see this addition that was put on the right-hand side. So I would say that, again, we are very appreciative of the project, and it could be a fantastic addition. But there are some items that we have to work out. And I know that per the petitioner, time is of the essence. They've already spent quite a bit of money on developing some final plans for the project. They also have purchased the steel frame of the building. So we definitely want to try to work with them as best as possible and work on a middle ground. And lastly, I think that if they can engage an architect and work with some of the restrictions, the parameters that they have, might be able to soften up the size of the building and the appearance of the building, but do a fantastic project. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adam, for a very thorough presentation. Any questions for Adam before we welcome the petitioner up?
I do.
Okay.
So I'm seeing a lot of little changes between what's presently there and what's in the rendering. With these modifications as they're proposed, would that actually remove them from their eligibility for the NRHP?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I would need to know, I'll let them describe what changes to the existing building they're looking to make.
Okay, I'm seeing the staircase, I'm seeing changes to the windows of the existing Carnegie Library. I'm seeing changes to the roof line, the masonry on the outside. I think this is a great idea. I think this is something that could be a real pull to Fortville, and also give us more of a gathering spot for larger venues, weddings, events, things like that. But I would just like to see it done in a respectful manner towards preserving the historical architecture. Just a little bit more.
Any other questions?
Not at this time.
Any other questions for Adam?
Do we have any photos of it in the past? Like some of these things have been added on, I'm sure, that aren't original architecture.
I think we do. Unfortunately, I don't have any in the presentation. This is the existing.
Well, I know that's what's there now, but if we're talking about keeping historical, like,
Right.
I didn't know if the awnings and things like that had been added.
Yeah, I believe the awnings were added at some point, and we can certainly find a historic photo of it.
Anything else? All right. We would welcome the petitioner up to speak on the case. If you would come up to the microphone, and tell us how you represent the case, please.
Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see my pictures. They're fantastic, but I will describe them. I am Julie Bandy. This is Dr. McCrease, my life and business partner. I would like to review what we're doing here. So our vision is to offer a unique venue for community gatherings, fostering cultural and enrichment through monthly themed experiences, which may include live performances, exhibits, shows, and various classes. Our mission is to preserve the spirit of Andrew Carnegie by offering a versatile, historic, and engaging venue space that fosters appreciation and community engagement while delivering exceptional events such as wedding receptions, corporate events, and education to not just our community, but our community schools. We will be considered a cultural arts center for the Fortville community. Performing arts such as concerts, dance performances, theatrical performances, visual arts such as art exhibits featuring painting, sculpting, literary arts that could include poetry readings, book signings, festivals, fairs, and community programs. The reason we want it to be a cultural arts and event center is because that is the spirit of Andrew Carnegie. His mission was to elevate the cultural and educational level of small communities. That's why it's here. Our Carnegie journey started 2 years ago when we purchased the building. We have worked closely with the town of Fortville, architects, engineers, and manufacturers to come up with a design we believed the town of Fortville would not only welcome, but be excited for. We have traveled to Scotland and several US cities to research architectural elements of various Carnegie institutions, both for exterior as well as interior design. Although the simplicity of the craftsman architecture is primarily used for bungalow-style houses, during that time, it was also used for public buildings such as libraries and firehouses. The craftsman-style architecture, though, is very simple. Here are some of the characteristics. They have low-pitched gable roofs. This particular building has never had that. It has exposed rafters and brackets. This building has never had that. It has wide front porches. This building has never had that. But it does include natural materials, such as stone and brick, which we are planning to incorporate. It also is a mixed use of materials, which we're also going to be using. And it also has earthy tones, which we are utilizing as well. The Carnegie libraries throughout the world are vastly different in their architecture. Many of them are simple craftsman architectural, like the Fortville Library, and some are very ornate. The library buildings across the country, or out of the world actually, Beaux Arts, Italian Renaissance, Baroque, Classical Revival, Spanish Colonial, and Scottish Baronial. The Carnegie Library in Mount Vernon Square, that's in Washington, D.C., that is a former library that is now an event center and museum. They have a Beaux Arts style. The Central Library in Dunfermline, Scotland, which we traveled to, it has a very Gothic look. The Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh, which we were there 2 weeks ago, they also have the keystones in all of the windows, the archways, the dental work, and then the Cabane Branch Library in St. Louis has very ornate corner coins, which we incorporated. We understand there have been some concerns brought up by the Indiana landmarks about the architectural elements, but we're not seeking any tax credits or grants. In fact, we were told that we could do whatever we wanted with this building because we privately own it, and we're not seeking for any, again, grants or tax credits. Our mission has always been to keep the spirit of Andrew Carnegie alive in Fortville as a cultural arts hub through our mission, while enhancing a building that has been deteriorating for many years. Yes, we have invested an incredible amount of not only emotional, but financial resources over the last 2 years. Setting us back at this point at any amount of time would be very detrimental, and not only detrimental to the project, but also puts our project in jeopardy. Our request and prayer: for the last 2 years, we have worked with the town of Fortville, architects, engineers, and manufacturers to design a cultural arts hub while preserving historical elements of the building and the spirit of Andrew Carnegie and his mission to serve our town. We believe that through our travels and research, we have brought the best elements of Carnegie institutions to create a building that accomplishes just that right here in the heart of Fortville. We request and pray that the town of Fortville approves our architectural design and grants us permits to begin our project. And my partner is going to close.
Hi, I'm Vasily Makris, and I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, I want to mention that we were the people responsible for registering this library in the National Registry of Historic Places. We did it because we love the place and we respect it and have big plans for it. It was a surprise for us to see the letter that came from Indiana Landmarks. In the Indiana Landmarks website, you will find a statement that says a privately owned landmark can be demolished without any questions asked. And we are committed to improving this beautiful building and making it a landmark for Fortville and also a destination for Fortville. Our mission is to bring culture, more culture and beautiful things to Fortville, and we are hoping that we'll be allowed to do so. I'd like to address just a few elements of the letter. One of them was the size. Our understanding, and I believe the ordinance, is that when you build downtown Fortville, you have to build, if not to the property line, close to the property line to maximize the building site. And that's what we did. Foolishly, we purchased the building, so it's not sitting waiting to be erected. The building at this point has been vacant in one way or another, not used respectfully for decades. It's crumbling. The inside walls were mostly down when we purchased it. the stairs are breaking apart. The railings are not original and they are falling off the stairs. There's AC units hanging off the back of the building. And we feel that what we bring into the table is a building that is respectfully improving and enlarging what we have. And as Julie said, is bringing the Carnegie spirit to Fortville. Some of the other things on the letter said they were objecting to our beautiful doors, where right now we have industrial aluminum doors, and that they've been there for decades. I just have difficulty understanding the purpose of this letter, and I respectfully, and Julie and I respectfully ask that we're allowed to proceed, if not as planned, but at least conditionally. And we're happy to work with the town to change the facade in any way the town sees fit, but we cannot take another delay. We've been working on this for 2 years, and we would like to start construction before the weather. And once the weather hits, we're back by 9 months probably. So we're happy to work with the town to make any changes that the town sees necessary. But we ask that you allow us to continue or to start. Thank you very much.
And I would also, if it's okay, like to address what you were discussing about the original building. If you wouldn't mind putting up that, any picture would be fine, preferably a nice, pretty one. If that's the one that we choose, that's fine. We're fixing the arch. We're replacing the aluminum door. And we elected to go with castle doors because they're all over Scotland and they're absolutely amazing. We're taking the awnings down. We're adding window keystones on all of these, just like the Scottish buildings. We're putting dental work all underneath the bottom. It is impossible to match this brick. So while I was working with a brick and stone manufacturer, he suggested that we use the corner coins because we're using a brick that is as close to this color as possible, but it is not made anymore. And so we have a brick that is very complementary to this existing brick. And then at the bottom, on the new building, you would see stone. That stone, all of the colors, combines the original brown brick with the new brick that we are choosing. And then he suggested using the corner coins to separate the two bricks, especially in the corner where the original building and the new building meet. So I just wanted to point out, obviously, there's new stairs and new railings. We are not changing the roof line. The only reason we have the Scottish balusters is because it is correct with other Carnegie institutions. In addition, it just helps, I think, the eye as far as the top of the roof, but the roof line is not getting changed.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for petitioners at this time?
I know you're looking at me.
No.
So one of my concerns, so you're absolutely correct. This is your private property. You can demolish the whole building if you chose and start from new. If it were a publicly owned property, then that takes into account a lot more regulations and things like that. So clear there. Why are we removing the antique glass that's within the archway above the doors? Was there a particular design aspect? Okay.
They're broken, and we believe that a castle door would look very inviting. It actually has the name, our name, instead of putting any kind of signage in the yard or in the front, we were actually just going to have it on the door.
So it would say
The Carnegie of
event.
Maine is on the top, and that's not a deal breaker. We elected to go with a castle door because it's very Carnegie correct.
I don't know if we can give out these comments or not, but the cornering, I'm not sure it really flows with the design of the original. I could definitely see why you would use it to connect the back two to try and help blend them. But I'm not sure that it actually follows the craftsman style. I mean, it's just maybe a little too ornamental.
Yeah, okay.
And then I do have concerns about the balustrade above. That kind of to me says Greek revival. And these are just my opinions right here. But I feel like maybe it's a little too ornate for the craftsman style that's here. So I would just maybe take that into consideration.
Okay.
We're absolutely perfectly willing to discuss any of this. None of this is written in stone. What we have rendered for you to see is what we thought was beautiful. If you don't like something and you like something else, we're happy to change that. What we're asking is that we're not stopped from the approval process because of that, because we are negotiable.
The only thing that is the size of the building is what I'm hearing, because you've already purchased. The building is the only thing that's really not negotiable under the current.
Not only that, but based on that building, we have engineered everything. We have all our mechanicals, our AC, our electrical, our plumbing. Everything, the structural engineering is done with that building. And we purchased the building thinking that we wouldn't have any problems. But again, we're negotiable on anything that is aesthetic. And we're happy to work with the town. We want to bring this place to town.
When are you proposing opening if everything goes through as according to your timeline?
Julie's in charge.
I would love it if it could be fall of 26, but the likelihood would maybe be spring of 27.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a quick logistics question. So you think your event center could hold roughly 200 people? With the church only having 60 parking spots, do you guys have any further plans to maybe contract with other local churches for their parking lots? Or, because I know that Fortville being a small town, I love Summerfest, but you can't
park,
you can't drive anywhere. And I could see this being a big draw and needing more additional parking that's not on the street.
We have entered into discussions with different people to lease additional space. We have a not signed, but very solid agreement with the church, and we can have a signed contract for you very shortly. We are working with some properties that are a little bit more remote, in which case we will have to offer a shuttle service. But that's not a problem. We can figure that out. There's plenty of parking lots in town that we could lease for that use. And we knew this would be an issue, so we have been working on it. And the valet parking is an option that would probably take care of most events, because as you probably know, a lot of people now use rideshare services to go to places where they're going to drink. But 60 cars is probably more than enough for our average event. But for bigger events, we can produce contracts with bigger parking lots where a shuttle will be required.
That's awesome.
Quick question, maybe this is procedural for Adam. Excuse me. I would like to see an agreement signed potentially with the church. I know it sounds like it's strong. That doesn't have to be done with the approval, but before opening, right? So would that be something we would attach as a potential condition for opening, or is that just something the town is?
Well, I think that it's all up to you as to when you want to require it. The only hesitation that I have of kicking the can down the road on that is there's already some risk that at some point in the future, even if there is a signed agreement, that either party could tear up the agreement and go away from it, and then we're stuck with a parking problem. But before we even get to that point, there's no signed agreement at this moment with the church. And my recommendation is that before there's a full approval, that at a minimum that they have that. Because I do agree that there's a potential that this could be a big draw, which is a great thing for the community. Certainly, in order to preserve the interests of the people that live in that area, we want to make sure that it doesn't negatively impact them. And I think there's just a bit of an unknown as to how bad the parking, it may not be an issue, it may be a huge issue. So simply put, my recommendation would be to at least have that agreement signed.
Okay.
What are the proposed hours? Like how late would events run, say Monday through Thursday versus Friday through Sunday?
I believe that we would end during the week around 10 o'clock, and I don't think we would go past 10 o'clock for wedding receptions. They usually don't.
Okay.
If I may revisit the parking, we can have a signed agreement within a week. We have a very good relationship with the church. We've spoken with them numerous times. We've had dinner with them. We have a very clear understanding of our goals, and they're actually very excited because we're actually going to, I'll let Julie talk about that. Joint marketing.
Yeah, joint marketing, and they can do their weddings over there and their receptions over here. And if someone chooses to have a religious ceremony inside of a non-religious building, then they can come over and be that entities for us as well. So it is a really good synergy that we have with them.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions for the petitioner?
Yeah. Hey, guys, good seeing you again. The brick, I think you've already answered this, but it is real, correct?
Yeah.
It's not a
Full
panel.
brick.
It is full brick.
It's
Right. The roof structure as proposed, is that a metal roof or
Yes.
is it shingles?
It's a metal roof, but it can be shingled if it matches. If we had originally wanted, as a matter of fact, you know very well, we have a grant from the town to participate in a new roof for the building, not because the building needs it, but because we wanted to improve the aesthetics of it. If that becomes an issue of originality and non-conformity, we're happy to leave it as is, and we can definitely match what's up there now, or re-roof the whole thing.
That was going to be one of my questions, Vasilis, to Adam, is I know the RDC he's referring to the RDC has pledged funds for a facade repair for this library with no expiration, I believe. Is that affected in any way? Or my assumption is they would use those funds towards this remodel.
Right.
Without any additional work needed on any party, I would assume.
Correct. The funds that were granted at the time did not have an expiration date on them. I think it was December 2023, maybe. And that was for repairs to the existing library, as I understood. And of course, whatever's captured in that scope of work under that approval is what they would be bound to do.
And obviously, we'll only use those funds for the original building.
Right. I think what the one concern I have is architecturally is, again, I've always been a huge proponent of this type of use there. I think it could be fantastic. My concern is that the architect that came up with the drawings that they spent a lot of money to do, The addition that are actually on the drawings that the state approved, they actually went ahead and got state approval. It had stucco. It was very much out of whack with the current library. And so based on that, I had mentioned that to them in comments, and they came back and they decided to add brick in lieu of that. What I think really needs to happen is we obviously want the project to keep moving and let them make use of the funds that they've already spent on the project. But I do think that there needs to be an architect that can consult with them based on the parameters that we have, that we've got this metal structure that they've already paid for, that they ordered. They've already done the mechanical, electrical, plumbing for the building. So I think there needs to be, and there is no architect on board right now. So that's why that would be my recommendation if you're inclined to keep this moving, is that they do at least consult with an architect that has some specialty in historic preservation, that they can make use of those parameters.
We weren't thinking of someone who has a specialty because we don't really know much about that subspecialty of architectural science, but we are actively working on engaging another architect who will re-render the buildings and as part of the original plan. So we are working on that.
Circling back on the roof, is there a plan for with the 0-foot setbacks? Is it, because that's a lot of watershed. Is there a plan for the drainage?
The building goes pretty much up to the sidewalk. I believe that there is some city drainage for the street. It will have to be sheet drained. I don't know what else we could do.
Maybe that's a Joe Renner. You're referring to the stormwater pipes under the street there.
Hey, Joe, are there any future plans for renovation of those pipes? I know we've been doing a lot of that throughout town. Sorry.
We would have to go in and review what's there to see what's there, what's adequate enough. I think the pipe that is in Main Street that handles everything, actually from Broadway, even part of it, I think, well, it doesn't cross Broadway anymore after that project was done on Broadway, but everything on Main Street pretty much runs down north of this property to the Stottlemyre ditch. I don't know that the pipe is adequate to add anything more to it. Right now, I think the way the lay of the land is, everything would probably sheet drain right off of it down the road and head to Main Street anyway. There's a couple structures down there that they have pipes that run directly to the Stottlemyre ditch. If that's going to be some overload that's going to run down through there, then it may be that those structures may need to be upsized, maybe some larger pipe. And then also down the alley that it fits in behind their property, that it goes on north to the ditch. There's sanitary sewer in there, and I believe there's possibly an old storm pipe, but I don't think it's very deep and it's not very big either. And I did have one question as far as I didn't see on the drawing. How close is the building going to be to the alley in the back?
It goes to the property line.
Okay, because I was thinking that alley is really tight right now, being as small as it is, and there's a water main and a sewer main in there. So, if we ever have to get in there and work on it, the only thing that kind of makes me nervous is if we dig right next to your footers. But it doesn't sound like you're going to have footers with steel structure. Okay. And then, I'd like to get with you on the utilities and stuff other too, because I know that there used to be is either a septic tank or an old cistern in the backyard, pretty close to where the playground was setting. And then I believe your water meter comes in off the alley too, so all that'll have to be revamped.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Anything else for me? Well,
Thanks, Joe.
Adam, quick question procedurally. Your condition on the architectural consult, so we keep this, there would be a conditional movement on the structure. Would they have to then come back before the plan commission for approval of the, I mean, what's the teeth, or is it to you for review? What's
It's
the,
however you want to do it.
Okay, so we would set
You know,
that.
one option is, I think in my view, although we want to keep this project moving, I think the best my advice to you would be to have them come back next month. And in that intervening time, they meet with an architect that can advise them on some of those issues all these host of issues that we've talked about. Also to get with Indiana Landmarks to see if it's at least moving in the right direction where he could support it. And then also they'll be able to have that signed parking agreement in hand as well. So the idea would be that you'd be able to approve it at the next meeting. But you can do whatever you please. You can either approve it today as is or with conditions or deny. I mean, you have many options.
Okay. Okay.
Quick question for the petitioner. What does a month delay do to you? It could snow tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we would expect him that, and we have all our contractors lined up. And we're gonna
Okay.
I have all kinds of questions.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah. I think they're mostly just aesthetic, which number one, I applaud that you're trying to do something with that building. Because as it sits, like you said, I think you said it best, it's crumbling. And the town is proud of that building, but I think it's more the historic aspect of the building. And they would love to see something done with it. I think everybody would encourage that and support it. But, and I know you guys want it to be right too. And you want that public support. So most of my stuff is aesthetic. As I was listening to you guys both talk, I was just jotting down some stuff here that I didn't see in the email versions that we got or in these plans here. And I just, some of them have already been mentioned, you know, the window above the doors. If I just go online and look at just continuously scroll through just Carnegie Libraries everywhere. Part of the, you know, someone already mentioned it up here, you know, the window above the doors, you know, it's all part of it. They match the windows. You know, it's one of the things that I just noticed when you just, even if you don't even stop and look at one, you just keep going and your eye just notice the same thing. You know, that's one thing I think that's important. What are the plans for the existing side door? I didn't see anything because that's kind of an interesting, you know, it goes down. Yeah. No, the one on the side street. Yeah.
Could we have you just up at the mic, just so we can capture it? We'll do notes off of this and that'll help us.
Is it going to be filled in? Is it going to be used? Is it, I mean, I'm just curious.
We are planning on blocking that off
Okay.
because it introduces water into the basement.
Sure. And is that gonna, you said you can't match the brick, so how are you gonna do that and make it?
Well, as you probably know, there's a coal chute in the back for the coal that can come in to feed the boiler in the basement. And we're gonna preserve enough brick from the facade of that to.
You got plans for that, okay?
Yes, yes.
The parking plan's already been mentioned. I fully support that's needed, and it sounds like you guys understand that. The stair rails on the front. You know, these are all aesthetics, like you said, all of those things are, you know, you're willing to discuss, which I think is fantastic. You know, somebody mentioned it. I don't know if it was the landmarks fella or what, but I don't know what's going on with the thing on the top of the roof. It's
totally negotiable.
Yeah, exactly. I know, but just things I noticed, I just jotted down. I just jotted these things down, you know, and I think Brittany mentioned the corners. I think that might be a bit much. Something about the tuck point. Do you have any plans with the current brick on the current structure? Are they been tuck pointed? Are they going to be? Are they going to be cleaned up? Are they good the way they are?
They're going to be cleaned up. I don't know that they need to be tuck pointed.
Okay.
Whoever did that masonry knew what they were doing.
Okay, I mean, I'll leave that stuff to Chris. There's others on this up here. that
Yes.
knows more about that than I do. And then, the metal roof is a big no-go for me. I just don't know that matches anything around there. I just don't know that that's, you said it could be shingled to match the current building. I think
Yes.
that would probably be best, but I think all of that's up for discussion, and it's encouraging that you're all willing to consider that. And then lastly, the interior of the current structure. I see the floor plan, but I haven't heard you really speak to the specifics of, the layout. I mean, obviously, I know it's going to have access to the new facility in the back, but I've been in that building countless times, and it's been a while since I've been in there, obviously, but the current layout and the floor plan, what is your future idea for that?
Okay, so
Of the current structure.
The current structure, it's just going to stay open. It had a staircase going down that has been taken out.
Yes,
So
two staircases going down, right?
just
Just
one.
one in the front and then you had one in the back, right?
There is a ramp on the side.
The only access to the basement from the top floor is through a very dangerous narrow
Narrow,
staircase. And we are obviously eliminating that. And then the addition is going to have a handicap elevator for people that are challenged. And then there's going to be staircases in the new building.
To connect with the current? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We're keeping the same floor. It is a hard pine.
Yeah.
So that's original. It's beautiful. We can't wait to restore that. And on the left-hand side, when you walk in, we will have a big Scottish bar. On the right side, we'll have soft seating. We have a 16-foot that we're blowing out to go into the new space. And we will use elements that we've picked up from all over the world for the interior design as well, particularly what's called the Carnegie Music Hall foyer. So if you're able to look at that, I cannot replicate it. It's unbelievable. It's very heavy, but it is inspiring us for a lot of.
You said, what's that called again?
It's the Carnegie Music Hall foyer event center in Pittsburgh. And, but what I want you to pay attention to, if you are going to look at that, is the incredible crown molding all around. We will also add crown molding on the inside of the original building. And, but the very ornate ceilings, that's what you find in those type of images is what we're going for.
Okay. And then when I looked at the stone on the bottom, I mean, and again, I'll leave it more to others up here, but it almost reminded me of, I was just looking at pictures. It's not the same, but it reminded me of the skirting on the church behind it. They have that same kind of stone on the Methodist church right behind it, but it's not as high up.
Yeah.
But so I don't know if that's something that, just a thought. It reminded me of it enough that I went to go look it up, something that maybe could match, or, I mean, I don't know, or maybe there's not a need to, but maybe others can look it up and see.
Yeah. Also, I believe the Indiana Landmarks gentleman also mentioned something about faux fieldstone, and there's no faux anything. It's real stone and real brick that's going on the building.
Okay.
So
I'm in agreement that I'd love to hear more about it. I think the best course of action probably would be to just my own opinion, to come back and discuss it again. It gives you guys time to round up the other parties that you might need. And I mean, if we can get the blessing of the landmarks, great. Don't know that's entirely necessary from my perspective, but that would even be better from you guys. But that's not necessarily a requirement that I'm going to stipulate, but I think that anything you can do to help would be fantastic.
We thank you. Sorry.
I have a question, Adam. If we put the conditions on so that they could go ahead and continue with their process, could we say that any further changes would have to go through the town for review?
Yeah, I mean,
as far as what's going to affect the existing property, the existing building, sorry.
yeah, however you have some wide discretion there. I think as long as whatever you decide, it's clear on how to execute it.
So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I want to make sure we still have to get through public comment. Just want to make sure we do have that spaced in here.
One thing I was going to ask Adam, what is the deadline for them to make it onto the agenda for next month's meeting? Because I know that's a few weeks prior to the meeting, and they they could potentially have some homework ahead.
Yeah,
of them.
if you're inclined, we can automatically put it on the next agenda, if that's part of your motion.
Okay.
Just continue it to the next meeting.
Any other questions for the petitioner before we get to public comment, and then we can circle back with the petitioner? Just kind of fundamental questions. Okay, thank you so much. All right, we do have time in our agenda for public comment. Anybody who would like to speak on behalf of this case, for or against, we welcome you to the microphone. I did see we have someone online, but we got someone coming to the microphone right now. So thank you first. Take your time.
Hi, I'm Steve Alchin, Alchin. I live at 210 North School Street, right across from Landmark Park. The building I don't really see, but when I come in every day, I hate to see it not being used. Now, as far as the roof goes that everybody's making a comment about, no metal, the church behind it just put new metal roofs on theirs. So, I mean, it would kind of blend with that. And as far as the facade of the building, the keystones are a great thing with that. With the brick, it breaks it out, and it does add with the back part. So as far as that goes, I like it. So, and I think it'd bring a lot more to Fortville.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the comments. Appreciate the context on the roof as well.
Yeah, I forgot that the church had just done this.
Yes.
On Poplar Street.
Okay.
And I'm so excited to hear that the Carnegie is going to be saved, expanded, and going to be used in this community, because we need a venue of where people can come and join each other and come and have people in town and have big parties. And don't worry about the parking. We have had festivals, carnivals, concerts, and somehow people find a place to park and to get to where they want to go. So please don't let that discourage you. And if the church signs a deed or a contract that says they'll let you park, good for them. But we have plenty of street parking, and I'm all for this. I think it's beautiful. I think we need it badly. And if they're going to do it and invest in it, more power to them. I'm right behind them. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, appreciate the comments. Very helpful. Any other comments on this case? I know we had someone online as well, so I want to make sure that we do allow for, if you're online, please unmute yourself and give us your name and your address, please. Oh, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. My name is Alex Choate. I'm at 675 North Granite Drive. I honestly just joined right as you opened for public comment, so I don't know if it's been covered for that proposed McDonald's. And I don't know what else has been covered for it. But I kind of just want to put my can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me now?
We can hear David.
Excellent.
Alex, unfortunately, we have passed through the case for the McDonald's. We're on the third case of the evening.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just want to say I'm in opposition of it. And that's really it.
Okay. Thank you very much. We do appreciate you taking time to join us this evening.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Are you ready for me?
Absolutely. Go.
Yes. My name is David Dunham. I am I'm representing 201 North Main Street, which is directly across Church Street from the Carnegie Library at this point. It's currently owned by the Hal Rainerson Testamentary Trust. If anybody has been in Fortville for some time, my grandfather was a physician in the town from the 1960s through the 1990s, and that was his practice and is currently two rental properties now that have tenants. So I just had a couple quick questions. So the front of our buildings are going to be facing that side door. So I was kind of happy to hear that that's not going to be used considerably. Now, would they be using on-street parking on Church Street? And if so, one side or both? I ask because that's a very narrow street. And obviously, you know that it dead ends in the park. And I believe that at least one of our tenants currently parks on the street. There's only a driveway that I think is used by one of the units. I was also wanting to know how that valet process could affect access to the duplex, because although, again, the property is listed on Main Street, both units are actually accessible from Church Street instead. I don't know why it's listed as Main, really, because Main is like the side of the building. So I just wanted to know, I mean, how we could assure that the tenants would be able to reach their property, since that's not a particularly wide street. So those are my main questions, just kind of how that would affect that property, since that is right next to it and it's a fairly narrow street.
Sure, thank you for the question. The parking you're referring to directly in front of the current Carnegie building is vacant about 95% of the time, and there's one car parked there that has expired plates for the last year or so. We hardly ever see any cars there. We are not planning on using that parking for parking. I suspect we will be using it as an access to the cars so the valets could drive them away into the church parking lot. But we have no plans to actually park cars there.
Just for the record, this is the side of his building into the library. It would be the left side if you were facing it, not the front.
On Church Street, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Did you caught his answer on the microphone?
I missed it. I'm sorry.
Oh, so you did not hear his response?
Oh, I heard the fuller answer about not using the front, but I wasn't sure that he was addressing the side.
He is addressing Church Street. Yes.
Gotcha.
The road in question for you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. We appreciate the comment. Any other comments on this case this evening from the public? Okay, do we have any questions for the petitioner? Any other final questions before we look for a motion on this case?
I think my last question would be kind of a follow-up from David, would be, deliveries, catering, potentially blocking Church Street. Is that where deliveries, food would enter the building?
Most likely our catering would come in from the corner of the alley in Church Street. But we're not planning on using that as parking, so we're hoping to be able to use that as a loading zone. And of course, we'll have to come back to the town for permission to do so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments for the petitioner? I guess my question or just for discussion here is, can we proceed with something structural to allow them, if they've got contractors lined up, can we get the steel structure in the ground and then conditionally approve, essentially table the architectural pieces? There's a lot of questions that I think you guys have brought up. That seems like a reasonable path forward that doesn't kill the project and then allows for some of the concerns to be addressed.
So, I mean, like I said many times, I defer. This is what you do, right, Chris? I mean, this is, yeah. So is there any concerns about the steel structure? I mean, you wouldn't be able to pretty much really tell it it's a steel structure really with all the work they're doing on the outside, right?
No, if you, yeah, I mean, the renderings are pretty clear. It doesn't look like a steel structure. You know, I was questioning the brick because I wanted to make sure it wasn't brick panels.
Yeah, right.
You know, metal panels that appeared to be brick.
Mhm.
But no, the facade will cover that structure up. There may be some exposed steel beams, trusses inside, but we haven't dove it really into the interior.
The only reason we went with steel was because we needed a span. We're creating a space that's expansive. There's no columns, there's nothing in the space. We're looking at 45 feet across. It's 50, yeah, well, 65 across and 50 or so long. But the span is all clear. There's not a single column in the whole space. Julie has very elaborate plans for the steel inside. It's not going to look like steel. And on the outside, there will be no evidence that there's any steel on the structure.
We do have time on our agenda for government officials, and I see one chomping at the bit. So please come on up. And
the thing I just want to remind you of is I see it as not structurally changing what's there. They're adding to it. So the new part probably doesn't need to be structurally the same, but consistent. I don't think a steel building has any play on it because it's attached to what's already there. Excuse me. And also we can't really tell them what to do because it is privately owned. So you have to remember that. And that's, you know, I think what they're trying to do is the perfect thing for the library. And we need it. We do need it. And I have some design things too that I really like pretty much everything except for the roof. And the doors, I love the doors, but I don't like the color. There's nothing. It needs to be, yeah, just my opinion. You paint whatever color you want, but the black, I just didn't really go with it. But great idea, you guys. It's a great project, and I don't think there's any reason to hold them up. My opinion.
thank you very much, Tanya. Appreciate it. All right. Any other final discussion at this point?
I think you were asking about if there was any reason to delay them at least getting started with the structure, but the architecture specifics would need to come back.
Potentially. Yeah. Yeah. If we're so inclined. It sounds like the structure's a done deal. We've agreed that they've done the electricals. They've done all of that base work. We're not changing that at the 11 and a half hour, right? So they've got contractors lined up. It's a question of, does this group feel inclined enough to want to see changes aesthetically? Then we need to put those conditions on. Or do you want to just make a motion to move? So
I would just say for it, I see no reason why not to proceed. But utilizing conditions might make it more amenable to the community as a whole, just so they know that there's some follow-up going on. I see no reason why to delay the project, but the architectural stuff, the little details, have them reviewed by Adam or.
Yeah, and I would just note it's, you know, that we haven't had anybody from remonstrance from Fortville that has any problems with the project or the way that it looks. I think it's fine to maybe consult with the Indiana landmarks, but certainly, you know, more importantly, that Fortville is on board with it seemingly. So.
Yeah.
And my heartburn here is that it sounds like this is a 2-year project that was moving forward until a letter came in maybe in the 11th hour that torpedoed this or slowed it down. And so maybe some more timely communication would have been beneficial.
Well, the letter I'm not placing as much emphasis on as it sounded like, and one of you guys mentioned it already at the microphone. You're well ahead of contractors before this even came before this commission. So I understand the urgency on your part, but we want to make sure it's right. And obviously I think it will. I think I'm hearing that the I don't know, I'm lost for words here, but the sounds like, I can't speak for the entire body, but there's a willingness obviously to work with and see this move forward. But there's still some hesitancy on some of the, you know, the details, if you will. But, and I think you maybe said it best. I mean, if we can get this thing going so you can get the project moving and there's time to discuss the other stuff, which you're very open to, which is fantastic. So does that kind of sum up what
Yeah,
you're?
exactly.
Sounds reasonable. Okay. All right. Well, if the
I think,
keep going.
I
Apologies.
think the one thing to Brittany's point is we need to nail down how far, and maybe that's where we need Alex or Adam assistance on how far do we want to go before. I know we said that, let's proceed with getting the steel and, and start with the bones of the structure, but then we haven't decided on anything else.
I guess
So-
the question is maybe to the petitioner, can they, at the next month's meeting, have an updated architectural?
Yes.
So,
And I don't know, obviously, was this meeting recorded for them to play back if they wanted, or, it's just.
with all of the things that have been,
And with your popcorn and all that, but, as far as taking all the details and stuff, I know there was a lot of different ones mentioned, but, there's something that you could at least discuss with the architect and bring back, and then we can have that meaningful conversation next time. Yeah, okay.
and that doesn't get in the critical path of the project, you can continue to move, and then we can have that conversation in October. So, and we could put it on the agenda tonight, right?
Yeah.
In theory. So, okay.
My only question is 30 days enough? Is a month really truly enough for
I
you
guess
to
that's the
find
question.
someone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, once you
Just don't
get
wanna
your-
rush it
Once
either.
you get to this initial part going, then you've got, time isn't necessarily of the essence because there's time to work on the other elements.
Yeah, I guess we would leave it up to you if it's 2 months down the road for the architectural piece, that's,
We are really hoping to have this building clad before the weather changes, so we don't have a steel building sitting in downtown Fortville.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any other conversation, discussion at this point? Then I would look for let me see, what are we looking for here? Approval. So a motion to approve with conditions, or deny the architectural and site plan for 115 North Main Street.
It's going to be a messy motion.
It is.
That's why.
Just make sure you speak into the microphone.
I'll make a motion to proceed only with the petitioner's ability to begin the project of the addition and come back in the October meeting to discuss the architectural elements of the project. Does that work?
Is that an acceptable motion?
I think so.
Alex?
Yeah. I think it's
Alex is
clear.
nodding, give him the
Okay.
thumbs up.
Okay.
So the idea would be that obviously we still have to issue a building permit.
The building permit
But-
doesn't get into the details of all of the things that we're.
Well, it does, but we can, I want to make sure I understand the intent. So if we were to issue the permit in a few days, we just put a condition on there saying that exterior materials, cladding still under review. So that part of it's not approved.
I
Noted.
mean, we'd be able to make it friendlier to the language, such as details pertaining to the existing Carnegie building would come back in October, but the new addition could proceed.
Well, I think we wanted to see some of the cladding, as you mentioned, and everything, some of those elements come back as well. So
Okay.
the thing that I think all they are needing to proceed is the ability to get the structure started, which is primarily the steel work, not the exterior. The exterior, you would still be coming back to us. You're not going to have the exterior up before it's time to come back to us. You're going to be working with some of the architectural element,
Or do we put it in Adam's terms that any, what did you say? Exterior materials, cladding, any of that cannot, it's conditional on
Yeah, it could just be structural only.
just a structural approval of the addition?
Yeah.
how do we want that to say?
We would like some guidance on who we need to consult with when we come in with samples and things like that. We have tried very hard to match the brick and it's not possible.
Sure.
And I think that the stone, as someone mentioned, could be matched with the church.
No, that wasn't, that was just maybe something for you to look at. That's what it reminded me of when I saw that, but.
It makes sense.
Mhm.
And we'll be happy to do that. The problem with that, I think everybody understands is that ordering those materials in bulk, because we're looking at thousands or 10,000 thousands of brick, takes time. So we're not saying we'll have to do it tomorrow, but we would like to use this month to consult with whoever you designate to agree on what is acceptable to you.
See, maybe Landmark plus Adam. And not an approval, but a consultation.
I mean, is this body comfortable with that portion of it moving ahead without seeing it again?
Just a consult and then.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking in the next month, they would consult with the Indiana Landmark and Adam and then bring that plan to bear so that he has someone he's specifically working with.
And then we see it, give it a final stamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
We have a concern that Indiana Landmark is not very friendly to this project.
And that's why I think we said just consult them, and then it's not that they have any approval in the process. And then if Adam, you're working with them, and if it comes back, I don't think we're looking for you to.
This isn't conditional on their approval.
Okay, so we'll certainly be happy to talk to them. Now, you mentioned that on the new part of the building, you may think that what we have proposed is acceptable. Am I right?
I mean, I think as long as it ties into the the existing building, yeah, I have no problem with it moving forward.
So maybe we can plan on doing the real stone and full brick that we have chosen and leave out the coins for now, so we could get things ordered. Would that be acceptable to you?
Yes, that's a question for this group. How do we want to structure this? This is
So
complicated.
personally, I'd rather see the brick go all the way down and no stone.
I agree with that.
So do we want to take one more look at a refreshed rendering? The other option, I hate to suggest this, we've done it though, is if time is truly of the essence, could we schedule a special meeting in 15 days or something like that if they can get it?
Sure, that's another option.
We've done that before. I don't want to cloud everybody's calendars, but if we think if you can get renderings and we could move it up if there's concern about one.
Well, let me ask you this, is if they're consulting with Adam, can Adam, I guess this is a legal question, can Adam consult with us via email?
I don't.
And
no,
if he has a new set of plans, can he
Alex,
ask our opinions? And
Alex is shaking his head no.
No, no. We can do it. We can schedule a special meeting or come back. But if what you're looking for, Chris, is Adam sending information on updated plans or options to the commission, and then by consent or whatnot, we can't do that. We'd have to reconvene in a public meeting.
Public meeting, right? I mean,
Correct.
that's the final approval.
Correct.
All the way down, to match the building, the current building.
To keep it simple, what you could do is you could make a motion to say that the board approves the structure, the metal structure. And however, that's all that we've approved at this point. So you'll have to come back for official approval of the exterior cladding.
That gets him started.
It would. I think it would be wise to take under consideration holding a special meeting, say, in 2 weeks to go over the
elevations.
Yeah.
If they can have them in time. So it's up to you.
What we would like to propose is that we come back to you with 2 or 3 different options before we put that in an architectural plan, because as you know, that's money. The renderings is really not as big a deal. And then once you approve a rendering to say, yeah, we like this, then we can go to the architect and say, please put that down.
multiple options be provided and we provide approval of the architectural plan at that meeting?
Sure.
Multiple options.
I think it's probably a good idea
Okay.
in this case, given the difference of differing opinions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Then
Spirit of cooperation.
we defer to you all on timing. Whether we need a special meeting in 15 days, or if you would prefer the 30-day next standing.
We will have 3 renderings.
So
We go ahead and just do the advertising for that and schedule it.
we'd have to announce it tonight, right, Alex? Announce that there's gonna be a special public meeting.
So two ways. So this isn't a special thing that we need to put in the paper. It's just a matter of 48 hours, weekends and holidays don't count, posted at the town hall. Let the paper know. And then announcing it tonight is a belt and suspenders approach.
Okay. Appreciate that. Okay. So I would look for let's clean this up. Let's get a fresh motion for the architectural and site plan for 115 North Main Street.
I think you said it best. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Make a motion to approve the structural elements of the architectural and site plan for 115 North Main Street with the exterior cladding contingent on plan commission approval at this time. And then I'll follow that up with the announcement of the special meeting. I don't think that needs to be in the motion. Okay.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right. Structural approval. Appreciate it. Appreciate your patience as we kind of work through this. This has been a unique one, just like your building is unique. So, and then I guess we'll take this time to announce the special, do we want to set it for 15 days, 14 days? Should we do a 2-week Tuesday? 2 weeks from. Okay. Okay. So we'll announce a special meeting for October 14th, Tuesday, October 14th, to review at 6:30 to review case number R0-2025, the exterior cladding for this architectural and site plan. Okay. Thank you very much for your patience this evening. We very much appreciate it. With that, that concludes our public hearings for this evening. Any board comments? I want to thank you all for very spirited conversations tonight. I thought we had really good conversations for all 3 of these cases. Came to some really good conclusions. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you guys hanging on with us. Alex, thank you as always. Staff comments?
Nope, nothing for me. Sorry, I echo what you just said. So thank you for that. Yep.
All right, Adam, anything? Can we hang you on any longer? Or are you ready to get home? Any comments?
Nope, that's it for me.
Okay.
I make a motion, we adjourn at 9:23.
All right.
I second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Motion adjourned.
Have a good night.